Guys, let me tell you a story. So Brooklyn had reached out to sponsor this channel. Now, that's a smart move. But when I told my wife Brooklyn had reached out, she informed me I've been sleeping on Brooklyn sheets for the last 2 years. Guys, I love these sheets, and I know you will too. Brooklyn offers luxury grade sheets. By working directly with their manufacturers, they were able to slash the cost and pass that savings on to you. Their classic percale sheets are on my bed right now. They're incredible sheets, and they will keep you cool all night long, perfect for hot sleepers like me. Right now, you can save 25% on their hardcore bundle. This includes their core sheets, extra pillowcases, and a duvet cover, everything you're gonna need. Promo code Chael is gonna save you an additional $20 off any order over $100. There's a 365-day warranty, so if you don't love them, you got nothing to worry about. Guys, it's time to upgrade your sheets, and probably your towels too. Just use the promo code Chael, click on the link below, or go to brooklinen.com. All right, guys, the BMF is gone. I talked about this in an earlier piece, and I had a bunch of comments of people saying, Chael, tell us why the BMF is gone. I can't tell you. I'm not going to get into it. I'm annoyed that it took me this long to see it. I generally see these things right up front. I would then bring it to you. That bothers me. Bothers me within myself that I missed, but the BMF is gone. We never need to discuss it again. It's never being contested again for multiple reasons. And if I did explain them to what you are, you would simply go, oh, how did we not see that? So anyway, what do you do with Masvidal? I mean, one of the great things about Masvidal is a massive star. Do not mistake this. Masvidal is the second biggest draw in this sport. He is the second most interesting guy in this sport, only behind Conor McGregor. And these numbers are verifiable. You don't have to be great with algorithms. You can go to simple YouTube, look at any athlete you want. YouTube not only does an audit, it does a public audit, and you can see the second biggest draw is Masvidal. But one of the things that makes Masvidal so compelling for me is that he's a champion. I think that whoever is a champion has a built-in mechanism. Now it's just a matter of when are we going to defend and who are we going to defend against. Masvidal's been in this really interesting place where he's got a championship that hasn't been on the line. I love it. I love the BMF. I'm sad that it's over. But I've been talking to you guys about the BMF for 3 years now, hoping we'll resurrect that thing. And I don't even care if it goes with the lineage of Masvidal. We could put a BMF belt up at the end of a night on a different night, the way that we used to do the super fight. I've brought you guys these suggestions and arguments. Many of you are backing me up. We got to stop. It ends today. The BMF is not getting fought for again. Now, there is some circumstances and situations where we could be pleasantly surprised, but they are so distant and so unlikely, we're going to have to let it go. It still does bring to you, what do you do with Masvidal? Now, Masvidal, as the second biggest draw in the sport, is not really in a position to be taking advice from anybody. He's in the position to be studied and be teaching the class and to be giving the advice. I personally, if that were me, I would have that BMF belt on right now, coming off of a loss. I would have that BMF belt there anywhere. I would say how I've had this thing 3 years and not one of you's tough enough to take it. Nobody could take this belt. Another fight down, another championship still on my shoulder. I would troll the situation. I would make, then you got the smart guy in the room going, you've never defended it and you lost your last fight. It'd be one of those things. It would just be in the level of silliness. But social media is made for silliness. That's how I would have done it. I would have just had some fun. Masvidal is in a very unique position. And Islam Makhachev spoke about this. Okay, hold the thought on Masvidal. Let me back up to Islam. Islam was referring to Conor McGregor. But the most ultimate position you can get to in this sport, and it's the one that Masvidal is in. It's the one that McGregor is in. It's the one that Nate Diaz are in. Nobody else. Just those three guys. But the ultimate position you can ever get to in your career is where the outcome of your matches no longer matter. It is nearly impossible. The crowd and the audience will decide. There's nothing that you can do to get there. It will just, at random, every few years, happen to somebody. But it's happened to those three guys. It doesn't matter if Nate won or lost his last fight. He will be main event of his next one. He will sell out an arena. And the same thing goes for Conor. The same thing goes for Masvidal. And only them. So Islam was weighing in on this as it pertains to Conor. And Islam was doing it very much. The jealousy was coming through where he's saying Conor's never going to be champion of our division again. Conor's never going to be a true number one contender that even gets to contest for a title again. He's going to come back and he's going to fight somebody for a whole bunch of money. Yeah. Yes, Islam, that's true. But you see where the jealousy comes through, because you get a guy that goes, well, I did everything right. I did everything they told me to do. I mastered the sport. I made the weight. I got on the airplanes. I slept right, ate right, and I got my hand raised more. This should all be for me, but it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. The audience decides. The audience elevates people. They don't do it very often. They don't do it to very many. Where we sit in our sport right now, where you have three guys, three bona fide stars, the three biggest stars, Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, Conor McGregor, all got one thing in common. They didn't win their last fight. As a matter of fact, they didn't win their last two. But it doesn't matter anymore. So Islam's weighing in on that. And Islam feels as though, right? I mean, he looks like the cat that ate the canaries is coming out of his mouth. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He's identified what's going on here, that Conor's going to do something massive for a massive amount of attention and a massive amount of money and a massive amount of appeal that won't be as meaningful competitively. Well, Conor's not playing that game. Conor has not played that game for a period of time. About being the best, about being the champion, about being the double champion, about being the best and being the double best, and going over different sports. He hasn't played this game for a meaningful period of time, so Conor is a success, right? I mean, that's what you judge it on. A person internally will have their goals. If they reach them, they're a success. They don't have to be your goals. They could be their goals. If they get it, they're a success. But if you get locked into the game, that this is straight line competition, of which it's not. The number one thing you have to know about our sport before you bring the politics in, so you can begin to manipulate said politics, you have to understand that we do not have a competitive architecture like other sports. Everything from high school, Pop Warner, Little League, up through the NCAA, off into the pros, bring in the Olympic Games, everything will have an architecture known as a straight line bracket. Here's the teams. Here's where they go. We're even going to throw something out there called seeds. Nobody really knows what that is or why we do them, but we're going to do it. And we're going to make sure that makes Sports Center. And then we're going to play a game. And whoever has more points when time runs out is going to move to the next round to take on whoever else had more points when time runs out. We get it. That's the way it works. We don't have that in fighting. It is the number one thing that you must understand, because a coach is going to grab you at a very young age, and he's going to inundate you with ideas about being better with the punches and kicks than this guy. Then you're going to make it to the pros, and you're going to realize that's not what gets me to the top of the bill. How come nobody told me this? Nobody's going to tell you this, because the only person in a position to tell you this is the promoter, who is never going to give away the secrets to the business. They're going to expect you to see it. If you go break down 5 guys at random that were box office stars, what you need to study about them is not how they throw a right hand, or a left, or an uppercut, or a hook. You need to study, what is it that they said and did? What did they wear? How often did they hit media? What were their tours like? Were they funny? Were they mean? Were they spiteful? Were they clever? Then you start to find the commonalities with those 5 draws, whatever the commonalities are, and there won't be a whole lot, but whatever the commonalities are, can then go into the bucket where you tell people you must do. I will tell you, as a coach, I'm guilty of it, but as an athlete that was being coached, I was guilty of having to hear it. But coaches will come in and they will tell a room full of people, 30 guys in a room, here's what you must do to be a champion. And then you'll hear the buzz where you must work hard, and you must be disciplined, and you must be tough, and you must be... You'll hear all of these things. We find those things when we take 10 champions, which in the sport of wrestling is the world championships, and then we identify what commonalities those 10 champions had. Whatever commonalities they have, we come back and we say, you must do. The only thing you must do is have more points than that guy when time runs out. There is no referee in the world that is instructed to find out who is tougher, who worked harder, who is more focused, who is more disciplined, who did more workouts, who slept better, who ate right. That is not how any sport is contested. Time runs out, you look at the scoreboard, one guy's got more points, that's the guy who wins. He does not have to be tougher. He didn't have to work harder. He did not have to sacrifice more. He did not have to have more dedication or more experience. He just had to have more points when time ran out. And it's one of those things that if you don't get into that little kid mindset, if you become a grown adult in the world of pros, in the business of entertainment, and you're stuck with messages that you were told at 9 and 10 and 11 years old, you're going to have some jealousy. You might have a gold belt to go with it. You might also be a success. You get the same test that the other guy gets, which is to set a goal and how close did you get to it. You might also be a success. But Islam is very correct when he's talking about Conor McGregor, of what Conor's going to come back and what Conor's going to do. Masvidal's in the same spot. But it is a question of what do you get to do. And I have seen guys lose their careers over a lucrative contract. I maintain for you what cost Ronda Rousey her career was the money she was making. That's what I maintain, because Ronda was good enough to be one of the girls. She was not good enough to be the champion of the world. She was one of the girls, though. Top 10 for sure. Closer to top 5, and number 7 is where I personally had her. She could have done this for years, and she's going to win some, and she's going to take a loss here or there. But her contract was so big and it was so beautiful, she had to be main event. She had to be marquee, which means she has to be fighting the best girls in the world, which she no longer was. And it's a way to get a guy to sign a contract. You bring a 37-year-old, you put a $10 million contract in front of him, he's got to fight 5 times to get it. You know full well how hard those matches are going to be, and you're never going to exhaust that because he's not going to be here when he's 40, for 1, is how long that's going to take. He's not going to see all of these fights, for 2. He's going to see a match or 2. He's going to have a jackpot full of money. His time's going to be out, but now he's under contract with you, so he can't go over here and do one of these exhibition matches. It's a game. Everybody's playing the game. But Masvidal, who came out and said he signed the 3rd largest contract in UFC history, we, of course, have no way to know if that was true, but we do know it's Masvidal, and he was certainly qualified for something like that. We know that Masvidal tells us the truth, so at least he believes that it's accurate. Then you want to hear the details of that. You go, well, how many fights are we talking here? If it's a $20 million deal, but it's going to take you 8 fights to do it, which you're never going to have 8 more fights, and you really didn't sign all that big of a contract, did you? You just tied yourself up for the rest of your life. If it's a couple $1 million deal and it's more reasonable, like 5 fights, okay, well, that still kicks the can to 40. And the way that you fight, which is very tough, you're probably not going to see 4. So how many of these fights are we really going to see? Oh, and by the way, this is so loaded, I need you to sell out the arena. I'm not buying your skills, I'm buying your ability to draw, so I've got to put you with somebody who does have the skills and maybe not quite the ability to draw. Do you understand these are going to be really hard fights? Right? It's one of those spots. Because there's a number of guys that Masvidal beat up. Number of them. Masvidal's fantastic. And another part of that is a lot of the guys that Masvidal can't beat up, he's already faced. So this has to be planned just right. If this is planned and prepared just right, and I'm not sure that George is aware of that. Now, to judge anything that Masvidal said right after a competition is not fair. We don't do that to anybody. But I am left, at least at this moment in time, with very limited information, which was said by George, and he said, and I quote, "I'm in the passenger seat. I trust my coaches and I trust my management to find my next fight." That's where I want to step and go, whoa, time out. Time out. This contract is predicated on you headlining and being a main event. That means you got 5-round fights to look forward to and nothing else. So now at least you've got your training in order. You know specifically what the rest of your career looks like. The other side of that coin is these are going to be some very tough opponents. The toughest opponents you've already faced. But the tough field is still sitting in front of you. So if you want to get all the money out of that contract that you just signed, you need to get as many of those fights as that contract allows, or as many as you can possibly get, which means you don't want to be a passenger. You want to be extremely active. You want to be the driver of this bus. I think that Masvidal has some really interesting stuff in front of him. It's now in order of booking. He's got to book these matches in the correct order, understanding the hardest guys, at least for my skills, are already behind me. Who's next is not something that you can be passive about. It is paramount. You want all the money in that contract, you got to get as many of those fights done before they show you the door, and everybody gets shown the door. You will never be done with this business, but one day you'll wake up and find out this business is done with you.